Hi everybody, it's me, Vic. I'm excited to talk about the Elgato Wave XLR MK.2, or also MK.2, right? So it comes in this amazing box, and I have been enjoying using it. There was one day that I was streaming and I was like, how's my audio sound? But I was like, crickets, right? I mean, I was talking, but like, I'm not gonna tell you what I'm doing behind the scenes here. Right? That's part of the fun. Anyway, I have been using this product for quite a while, and what I can say is it's amazing. I'm looking forward to the Wave XLR Pro though, which is on my radar because I'm building a secondary Windows PC for streaming and encoding. So that's actually going to be hooked up to the Wave XLR, and so will my gaming rig that I'm currently using for content creation. So I've been using a single PC setup for quite a while. I do have a Mac Mini. I hardly use it. I mean, I do use it for editing, especially photography, but not necessarily for content creation. To show that you can do some stuff. And the cool thing about this is the Wave XLR MK.2 is compatible with Mac OS. So are the other ones. I'm really excited about that Stream Deck XL Plus, right? Or Stream Deck Plus XL. I said it wrong. It's okay, right? It's awesome. That thing is massive. It's gonna go right in the center of my desk, and mostly because I have the Xeneon Edge, which I've been really using for temperatures when it comes to like my PC. So I have a feeling that's actually gonna probably go more towards my gaming rig. And I have another touch screen. So my desk space is starting to get crazy, and I need to declutter. So, you know, that Stream Deck Plus is going to turn into a Stream Deck Plus XL. It's going to be right in the center. I was thinking about an under desk mount because I know that there's a video where I show using them under my desk with a Secret Labs Magnus, not a Magnus Pro, not a Magnus Pro XL, just a regular OG Magnus. And they're great, right? But I have a feeling that I won't be able to do that with maybe the weight, because looking at the size of that, my concern would be that I don't want to drill holes in my desk. You might, I don't, and I would fear that it would probably cause me to drill holes in this desk, and I don't want to do that. I've been using a specific special tape, which is the 3VH something. It's really strong tape. It's like double-sided tape, but it's I don't know, it's really sticky. Anyways, it sticks like adhesive, and you basically wipe down the area with alcohol, right? And then isopropyl alcohol. And then you just put those things where you need them to as you place it, and then, you know, it holds. And it was able to hold the weight of the Stream Deck Plus. I don't think that that's going to happen with the Stream Deck Plus XL. It would be cool to test out, but I kind of, I don't know. We'll see, right? We'll see if there's some 3D printed stuff on the market in the future, which I think is really exciting to look forward to for those who do 3D printing. Let's go ahead and move on to the XLR though, right? Because I'm really excited about this Wave XLR MK.2. It does some really cool RGB stuff, so let me go ahead and get into that with you all. Oh, it didn't work. You know what? I'm just gonna have to manually do it. I hit the wrong button on my Stream Deck. It's okay. It's okay. We're still going. All right. So if we pop this thing open, right, we can see here that you can actually change the color. So on the MK.2, the only color that's actually going to change is the mute button. I know I have a screenshot. I can pull it up real quick here. As much as I wanted to pull up like everything for my regular XLR, I was like, I'll just pull up the screenshot because then I have to plug everything in, and I don't want to do that. I'm set up. It happens. Anyway, let's go ahead and zoom in on this piece right here, right? So in Wavelength 3.0, which the actual software is out and free for everybody to use, it doesn't have to be a Wave microphone to use the software. It's really awesome. I've actually been using the beta for quite a long time, since they started the beta. So any bugs, etc., you know, most people were reporting it to Reddit on the mega thread. But what's really cool is, you know, it works with previous models of any Wave device. So if you aren't upgrading, you know, that's great. You can still use it. It's awesome, and you'll still get whatever firmware updates, etc. Right? So, you know, it's the gift that keeps on giving to yourself. Anyway, if you look, you can change 3 of these LED indicators on the just like you could in the previous wavelength. You can do it on wavelength 3.0, which I think is really cool, because that was a question that came up, is can you change the RGB? You can. On Mark II, you can, but again, it's only changing the mute. I would like to see where we could change the others when you push the button in the middle. So I did make a video. It's on my phone. I actually have to edit it in when I'm done, and you know, making this video here, but I basically showed this one right next to the size of the Mark II, which means I had to unplug the Mark II and everything to just kind of like do a full. I even did it with the XLR dock, so you'll see that. I don't have the Mark II for the XLR dock. I was only sent this unit, which is more than enough, but I am looking forward to the XLR Pro, because dual PC setup. And I am excited to try that, as well as Wavecast. I have Wavecast, but I don't have a secondary PC that's compatible with it. I do have a Mac Mini, so like running the capture card, testing certain things out, I have been doing with my Mac Mini, but I really need an encoding beast, so that's going to be it, because I don't want to tax my GPU doing encoding, streaming, and gaming at the same time, which I have been doing, and I see FPS drops, which means it's sometimes not the best. And you might see like little jitters here and there, and that's not good, right? Especially if I myself am putting myself out on camera, where I have a video visual that's going to be like really nice, and then you see it like all pixelated and choppy, and who needs that, right? Anyways, the other important thing is, if you're broadcasting, if you're streaming, or even podcasting, is your audio, right? Audio is important. And that's where this Mark II really delivers. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. I'm sure you've already seen it on the stream before, and they're going to be doing like a deep dive tomorrow. There's a mention, because that was actually the keyword for the giveaway today for the Wave 3 Mark II, because there is a Wave 3 Mark II as well. But there's the DSPs, right, which are going to be the effects and settings, and they actually save it to the what do they call it? The wave. I should know this. The wave effects. They have this really cool core on the inside of this thing, and it actually saves to it. The one thing that I do want to mention is, when you are setting up your expander, your compressor, your EQ, all this fun stuff, give it a moment. Give it between 30 seconds to 60 seconds. I'm not sure if I was told 60 seconds, but give it a moment, so that way it saves those settings. That way, if you're switching between your gaming rig, right, let's just say that it's Windows, you switch to your Mac or you switch to another, those settings are already saved on this unit, which is amazing. So I'll show you what I set up for my expander here. And, you know, you can tweak it to your liking, right? it's good to have somebody to relay those things with, unless you know what you're doing with audio. You know, someone pointed me in the right direction, and it was a really cool audio engineer that I chat with every now and then. And he gave me probably the best advice. Hold on. I'm sorry. I totally hit the shoulder on the mic. That's my bad. I don't know if you heard the pop or not, but if you did, I'm sorry. So these are the Shure hold on, I had the number. I think it was 215. I should be ready for this, huh? Here we go. Life hacks, watch. Shure 215. I was right. Look, I'm not editing any of this. I'm adding stuff to this video, but I'm not going to crop all of this out because I'm having fun. All right. So IEMs are probably like the new thing that you're going to see a lot of people, not just podcasting, not just content creation, not just for editing. You're going to see a lot of people starting to use IEMs. I'm going to plug this back in 1 second. So the IEMs, you're going to notice that they're not bulky headphones on your ear. They're connected via aux, so they're a really long cable, right? And this is more than enough cable because I literally have this thing mounted under my desk right next to me. I do have a mount that was actually designed for this baby right here, the Wave XLR. I reached out to somebody on Etsy, so it's custom, because what they had was, it was literally right up at the brim of the desk, and I was like, can you do something where I can just like tap to mute, because I love that feature. I want to be able to stick my hand between like a little window so I can just tap to mute. And they designed it. We went through maybe 3 different exchanges, right? So like that costs money, obviously. That's filaments, so that's a product that they're selling. So we went through trial and error, and we made sure that it was working, and then it was perfect. It was perfect. And then when I put the XLR, the Mark II in here, it was flush. Like it was designed pretty much with the same, like I didn't have to buy a new one. It was really nice. So I'll show you that mount. You'll see it in the little video that I'm going to pop in here. But if you notice, the expander has been actually going off haywire right above me, or right, you know, you'll see it either above me or, you know, this way. I forget it's a mirror image. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and close out the expander because y'all been probably watching that as I've been talking. And a pro tip that Phil said on the live today was, if you are using VoiceTune, which I actually set that up last, but if you're using VoiceTune, you probably don't need to set up a compressor, right? But if you are wanting to do a compressor, if you're specific about things, you can do all of this. You can change here in your advanced settings, your ratio, attack, release, just like you could in your expander, right? You want to make sure that your makeup gain is set up to a specific level, and then you're going to want to change your threshold right here. So, you know, they do recommend going to the peak. For me, I've kept it right here. I don't know, you might hear a little bit of a change, but I moved it a little bit. It's fine. It's still within the range, right? So if you know what you're doing, you're fine. You're not too worried about it. But if like you're doing something drastic, be worried. You know, take your time with it. Make sure that it sounds good. And if you're not sure, you can actually do a sound check, right? And that comes down to software. So you could actually switch to your headphones, which I would recommend. And if you are switching to your headphones to listen to it, you can go to your input and monitoring, and here's what I'm going to recommend, especially with IEMs. You do not want to blow your ears out, okay? I made the mistake because I didn't see output volume right here under monitoring, so mine was jacked all the way up to 100%. And silly me had it on high power mode, right? High power mode, you know, you can hear certain hissings and stuff, then you're probably going to need to change a couple of settings. But high power mode is essentially for IEMs, and if you're not sure what high power mode is, you can actually click on this here and it tells you, optimizes volume and clarity for high impedance headphones, which is IEMs. And then you can even do direct monitoring, right? So direct monitoring says that it excludes software effects from self-monitoring to prevent latency, which means it's zero latency. The other cool thing is when you're using IEMs, since they are connected via aux, it's zero latency. So keep that in mind. If you want to, you can use a wireless headset connected to your PC. There may be some latency, so keep that in mind. I would recommend, like, if you're getting serious about your audio, you might want to probably look at a really good pair of IEMs. I would recommend the Shure SE215s. They were recommended to me and they're affordable, so they're under $100 USD. Depending on if there's a sale, snag them up if there's a sale. So check those headphones out. I mean, that's a starting point, right? And who knows, maybe that works for you. Maybe you might need something slightly different. But I was recommended those by an audio engineer, and I haven't changed since. Granted, I do use my Corsair Virtuoso XT. I love that thing. Unfortunately, the headband's got like a little bit of flakes. You know, actually, I could probably show y'all. Right here, let me take the microphone off. So much wear and tear that you can see that it's starting to get a little peely, right? And that just tells you how much I've used these headphones for the longest time prior to getting those IEMs. I mean, we're talking wear and tear. It's important to have good headphones. These things have Dolby Atmos, okay? So I do use them. But I've actually reduced this to just work purposes only because the microphone sounds really awesome at work. So yeah, there's that. But I still recommend using IEMs, especially if you're going to do self-monitoring, because one, you're not going to have some bulky headphones, right? And you can actually hear because it's isolating sound. It's like being on a stage with musicians or something, right? So like they have sound checks and on the stage and stuff. So they have those on there. There are wireless IEMs, but keep in mind, anything wireless is usually going to have latency. So we're going to move past that. Anyway, they have gain lock, right? So as soon as you auto adjust your gain, which I don't need to do this anymore, but I have been actually like a couple of times having to go through this and being like, oh man, my gain is messed up. So I'll go here to auto adjust gain. And then once you set it, mine is at 61 decibels because that's what it said it needed to be at. But once you do that, it automatically locks, right? But gain lock will tell you it prevents other apps from changing your microphone's gain, which is awesome because some apps really do that. Number one example would be Discord. I actually experienced a little hiccup with Discord today. I was, and nobody told me until somebody told me, right? Because I'm not going to know unless you tell me that there's some fan in whatever. Well, it was in studio mode instead of it being in the correct mode. I could look it up real quick. Let's go to voice and video, and it's under custom, right? So make sure your Discord isn't custom if you're a Discord user using the XLR MK.2 like myself, or you know, whatever microphone you're using, because Discord sometimes will do some updates and it changes my settings, especially if I like unplug or plug something back in. So that drives me a little bonkers. I'm sure it drives others bonkers, but you know, it's growing pains. Anyway, there is the phantom power. I can tell you the Wave DX does not need that. The Shure SM7P surprisingly doesn't need it. You can use it if you want, but it's not really necessary unless there's a specific microphone that actually requires it. And it tells you right here. It says turn on for condenser mics, turn off for dynamic mics. So if your mic is going to be a condenser mic, you're going to want to turn it on. This is a dynamic mic right here, the Wave DX. So I don't need phantom power. Now, if you're not sure, you can make sure that when you're researching a microphone or one that you've bought, if you're not sure, you can just go back to the manufacturer's website and it should tell you if it's a condenser or dynamic mic. So if you're not sure, remember, you can always click on these little eyes right here and they'll tell you the information about it. So Clipguard, right? Clipguard says that it tames the loud bursts, like excited reactions, to keep audio clean and distortion free. So like if I was super hyped, right, and my voice elevated to something different and I was screaming or I was super joyful, which I'm not super enthusiastic all the time, but you can usually see it in the face, right? My voice does change with inflections, I promise you it does, but it's not going to be something to the point where Clipguard is going to have to really register, but I have it there just in case, right? Like there might be those moments where I'm playing Dead by Daylight or another horror video game, which is not really the vibe that I go with, but around Halloween, yeah, I'm probably screaming into my mic. So, or jump scares, right? it happens. Anyway, that's going to be pretty much the settings when you're going through it. I do recommend, though, when you're going into settings, make sure you do this start setup tour. That's the first place that I would recommend starting. I would strongly suggest it, especially if you're not sure what you're doing. So it helps you. It really does. I love how simple that process is. And I think they demonstrated that on stream today too. Anyway, we're gonna go down to mixes, right? I know I talked about this. I've actually reduced it down to 2 mixes right now. I had at 1.5, but right now it's down to 2. And mine changes. It's ever changing because I'm always trying something different. And it will change again when I build that thing, that beast over there. It will be a beast. It's gonna have a 4080 Super OC in it. So I'm super excited, but neither here nor there, right? Also, I really want the Wave XLR Pro because dual PC is probably going to be what I'm looking forward to when it comes to that, but I'm also going to be testing out Wavecast, so I'll be running both of those once that build over there is complete. Anyway, I know some people have their main with their microphone here. I wouldn't put my microphone here, and the main reason why is when you're, can I show it? As an example, depending on how your mix is set up, I can show it. I just have to be careful about what I show. When your mix is set up, right, you're just going to come in here and choose your microphone. Because of the DSPs, it'll already have everything that you set up on the DSP here. You won't need to actually do it from a mix. And then you can just route it to whatever channel you create in Wavelink. And in my case, I was so familiar with the Wavelink 2.0 and the Wavelink 1.0 that I customized it to look like this. So that way, for familiarity, I always butcher that word because I can't say it correctly. Familiar. Okay, I'm getting tongue-tied. Anyways, I did my best. So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend adding your microphones here because you're just going to have latency in this mix if you're wanting to hear yourself, rather than going to input and monitoring and go to direct monitoring, right? And then you would just change this all the way over here if you just wanted to hear yourself with 0 latency. And I would recommend selecting direct monitoring when you're doing that. And that's just some advice, right? I've tested those things. Again, please make sure that you're at max 60. I would recommend levels between maybe, I don't know, 45 to 60 on your output. So that way you're not blowing your ears out when you're here in output volume. At max for me, I keep it 60. When I have it on high power mode, I actually dial it down to like maybe 50. But everybody's preference is different and everybody's ears are different. So just keep that in mind as well. Now, if you are gonna probably regularly be using IEMs, probably many hours a day, it's worth noting that you could probably get custom fitted tips depending on what region you live in. Maybe healthcare might be free to you, maybe not. If you're like me in the US, you'll have to go to see a doctor who can actually do the molds, and then you can send those molds out to a lab that can actually make them. So there are things that you can do, and they're not as expensive as you think. Keep that in mind as well, you know, if you're getting really serious, or maybe even podcasting, right? Is it necessary? No. I think that's a little extra, right? Maybe a lot extra, just depending on, you know, what you're doing. But if that is something that you're looking at doing, then kudos to you. I think I've covered all that I think I wanted to show you. Again, there was a video that I'm inserting here, so you'll be able to see like the things in action when I'm actually speaking and when I push the button and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. There's going to be more in-depth stuff, so I hope that you all tune in for those live streams from Elgato, and thank you for watching.